Arguably, the worst thing about learning Japanese is the kanji, and the worst part about the kanji is that there's so many methods to actually learning them, right? And most of them are actually terrible. So hopefully this guide is going to give you some direction on the things not to use, including the mistake I made when I was first learning kanji, and the mistake that cost me a lot of time, and then the best way that you can actually do it. So what is this guy going to cover and who it's for? Yeah, it's for anyone, but yeah, basically I'm just going to explain the quote bad ways of learning kanji, including what I was doing. So none of these ways are truly bad, really. It's just that there's always going to be a more efficient way to do things that's going to save you a lot of time, energy, frustration, and also money, right? So the most after after I explain the bad ways, I'm gonna get to the most efficient way for beginners, right? If you know 500 or less kanji, around that, and then what to do if you're deep in like me into the kanji, you know a couple thousand, and how to keep going. So first bad way is wanikani, right? I've personally tried wanikani myself, and it works to an extent. It's not bad, it's just really inefficient, right? So if you do wanikani, right, you're gonna learn 2,000 kanji plus the readings, and then 6,000 words in 18 months, right? That doesn't actually sound too bad, but compared to if you were to do one of the other things I'm going to list, that's actually really slow. So, and also learning the kanji readings and the words out of context, super easy to forget. The moment you stop doing wanikani, even when you think you've got it, you practiced it, you drilled it tons of times, right? It's gonna be pretty easy to forget. That leads me to the second bad way, which is RRTK, right? AKA lazy kanji. So this is what I did. So for example, you've got an Anki deck with a kanji on the front, right? And then on the back is the meaning, the story, and the readings, right? So this is what I did, and it works to an extent, but you're already doing recognition when you read. So think about it, right? If you've got manga, you've got a light novel, whatever you like to read, right? You're already doing kanji recognition when you read. And the worst thing about this is it leaves you unable to produce the characters in your head. So like given a sound or a meaning, right? If you hear like soku, right, you might not know how to write the kanji in your head, right? You might you might not be able to associate it properly. So that's the disadvantage of this lazy kanji method. It leaves you able to recognize kanji. However, when you go on to produce them, that's where the problems start. So what I wish I actually did was just regular RTK, regular remembering the kanji, right? Keyword on the front, right? And then the kanji on the back. And the best thing about this is it gives you the advantage of knowing kanji meanings when you start. So for example, think of Chinese speakers learning Japanese, right? They roughly know what all the characters mean in their own language, right? So once you learn how words fit together in Japanese, you can roughly pick up the meaning, and then you can pick up the meaning between two kanjis while you read, right? So the main advantage of this is it puts you essentially where a Chinese speaker learning Japanese is when they start, because everyone knows that if you're a native Chinese speaker, it's going to be a lot easier to learn Japanese than if your native language is English, Spanish, German, right? So it's going to put you in that position of knowing the meanings of the kanjis just like a Chinese speaker, right? So just because you speak English or another language, that doesn't give you a different effect from the Chinese speaker learning Japanese. You both already will essentially know the character in your native language, right? You know what the character means in English, Chinese speaker knows what it means in Chinese, right? And then the other thing about this is you get the benefit of actually being able to write and memorize the characters. And then also, if you're using Anki, for example, after your cards are mature, right, once you fully learn them, you can replace the keyword on the front, so right here, with the readings and produce from that. So for example, if all my cards were mature and I had this card that said that overcome kindly, skillfully, right, I could put koku, right, the reading on the front, and then on the back, right, would be the kanji, the keyword and everything. And then from there, you would also probably have an audio too, where you could have the audio and the reading, and then from that produce the kanji, right? So that's gonna do wonders for your comprehension and all that. So aren't RTK and RTK basically the same thing, right? What's the difference? There's just one extra R in the one, and then this one is just RTK, right? So the purpose of traditional RTK is so that you can write from memory, right? And back to wanikani too, right? You're taught readings for, 2,000 kanji as well as 6,000 words. So in contrast, RTK, right, just regular remembering the kanji and sentence mining with a very, very kind of mild completion pace of RTK in 3 months, right? Let's say you do it in 3 months and 15 words a day for the remaining of 15 months. You're going to learn more words and will be and you'll be able to write from memory too, like a native speaker, in the same amount of time. And you don't have to pay monthly, you know, you don't have to pay for wanikani, right? And if you're up to it, you want to do 20 words a day instead of 10 for 18 months, right? Then the RTK and the sentence mining learner is going to learn 9,000 words in natural context, and you'll be able to read and write 2,200 kanji, right? The entire JoJo list. So I know I'm yapping a ton, but that's like a whole like 50% increase over what you get from wanikani if you were to spend the same amount of time in that 18 months. And it's free. So if you're watching this far, I'm gonna drop a link in the description for the RTK deck that I recommend for Anki. You can just go get it for free. But yeah, back to the actual slide, right? So the keywords are the input cues, right? Not the answers. The kanji shouldn't be the input cue for the meaning. It should be the other way around. It should be the keyword to the kanji so that you actually know how to produce it, right? So again, if you have this lazy kanji, right, RRTK, you can't make your deck into a production deck, right? You can't do the sound and reading to kanji because you didn't do it from input cues, right? You just did it from the kanji. So what do you do if you already know a lot of kanji, right? This is my case, and it might be a lot of your case if you're watching. So I did RTK up to the first 1,400 kanji of the JoJo list, and then after that I just decided to learn kanji through words, and it worked. But it would have been a lot easier if I just went up and did the entire traditional RTK up to the first 3,000, and then I would be able to learn a lot more words without lookups and just learn readings naturally, right? So since I'm doing the JLPT and I'm already studying a lot daily, me personally, I might as well go back and finish the rest of my RTK from the input cue to writing it, right, instead of doing the lazy kanji. But if you want the benefits of just writing the kanji, right, and then you also know all the meanings, it's definitely worth it to go back. And then, you know, if there's cards you already know, right, you don't want to go through like ichi, right? You don't want to go through the numbers and stuff, just suspend them. Otherwise, the best thing to do, just keep learning kanji through immersion. Learn the kanji in the words, right? Because kanjis are sort of useless by themselves. Not really useless, but it makes a lot more sense to learn them in the words that they're actually used, right? And that's basically all I've got for this. So I hope this was able to help you a bit with kanji, you know, clear some things up, why traditional RTK is going to be the most helpful method. Wanikani, all that, they're all helpful. It's just that you get it's most efficient to just do regular RTK if you're able to suck it up, right? So that's all I've got for this, and yeah.